I always ask my class, I'll say, okay, how many of you enjoy working with children? They all raise their hand. I said, okay, what is the toughest part of your job? Every single one say the parent. And I said, but yeah. I said, that doesn't match. I said, because each one of these children, it's a twofer. You can't separate them. That's what they come with. And so if you're going to be very respectful to the child, then you have to be respectful to the parent. Why would you not make that connection?
I hear parents talking a lot about, I think my teacher might get angry with me and take it out on my child, which is such a surprise to me. I really find that to be a surprise, because I know that adults working with young children don't do that. They're just geared a whole different way. I think we really work hard at trying to help families feel a part of the partnership rather than to be judged by us. But if you don't work at it, if an agency does not work at creating partnerships with families, it's not going to happen. And families can't do it without us. So I think it's kind of our responsibility to set that proactive role there.
And the difference in doing this and being in this field before I had children, and now after having my children and having a 10 and a 12-year-old, it's amazing, the difference. I mean, you just have a whole new respect for the parents. You understand why they can sometimes be difficult. You realize why they want you to do things the way that they want you to do them. And I think that was really a big thing that I've learned, and that the parents, they want what's best for their children. And sometimes you might feel like that parent's being a little difficult, but they have their child's best interests at heart. And I've just really learned that everybody has a story. Just because you don't necessarily agree with them, it's your job to do the best you can for them and for their child.
The whole idea of conflict, I think, I really have evolved in how I feel about that. And I think because it's not something I avoid now, it's something that I anticipate. And I think that even whenever families come to tour, or as I talk to teachers about different things, I'll try to even remember to say to them both that, when conflict happens, not if it does, just when it does, expect it, because that's in life in general, that's just it's just part of life, and it's part of learning and growing, and that's true with children too.
So I think if you have that relationship with families, you're able to find out a lot more about the family, and once you find out more about them, you can help them more. Because unless you know them, you don't know what they need. Unless you've already formed that relationship with them, and they can begin to trust you and understand that you're a safe person, you're someone they can talk to, and that confidentiality is important, and they know that about you. They're willing to share a lot of things with you that helps you to help them.
When you have to tell a parent bad news, the only way they're going to listen to you and hear you is if you've already built that relationship with them. So you can't wait until you got something bad to say to them, something that they don't want to hear. You got to be able to have a very close relationship with them long before that time.
I like to speak with parents, especially if maybe a child is struggling in a certain area. Maybe we can work together so that we can strengthen that area that he needs help in. Especially in this neighborhood, there's a lot of other issues that come along with the child's environment, and maybe issues that the kid might be going through at home. So we have something called La Puerta Abierta, which is called the open door. So if the family is going through something very serious and it's affecting the child, and you can see that every day when the child comes to program, we can set up meetings with the family and see how we can help that child go through that process to feel better and just be able to express himself.
some of our staff have gotten really good at even doing like initial kind of conferences within the first month or so when families come, and some of them have said that that's just been, you know, a huge had a huge influence on what the relationships with families are like, because they just start off feeling connected, feeling like they understand one another, that, you know, and they just have a great place to build on. So, you know, just the whole idea of it being a give and take again, and not just a one-sided.
So the first conference is actually, you know, pinging off of that idea that the parent is the expert, you know, and then it also, I think, creates that communication dynamic. I know for myself personally, it's to be the listener during that conference, and just valuing everything that they have to share. And you know, I struggle really hard not to be interjecting, but I particularly like our first question. Our first question, because this always will get families. It says, we ask, what are your hopes and dreams for your child? And oh man, yeah, some get teary-eyed. Some are very specific, you know, like I want them to be successful. I want them to, you know, I want them to know their alphabet, and they're kind of like that. And then others are just, you can just see them dreaming, you know, years down the road.
Well, but this is where we find we end up with all kinds of little
insights,
gems and insights that we didn't know.
Yeah,
like the child who was so loud. You know, and we all realized that Amber was really loud, but only during this beginning of the year conference did Grandma tell us. Grandma and Granddad watched the child most of the time. That Granddad couldn't hear, and so everybody in the house is loud all the time.
It's not just a matter of always sharing, telling and giving and providing. It's also a reciprocal kind of even an attitude of, we need you to be a part of this too to make it successful. We need to know and we care about what you think and what you feel and how you discipline and what works for you and what your tricks are and all of that sort of thing, and not just coming from a, you know, one-sided. So
it's like being a family. We spend long hours with the children, so we always like to know more about their families, their culture, their interests, and their hobbies.
If the parent walks in and sees you on the floor playing with their children, that parent's going to be so much more likely to come up to you and introduce themselves and respect you, because you're down on the floor and you're with the kids. And
you know, the more that you try to see from a parent's perspective and understand what parents want, how they feel about things, what concerns they have, that kind of stuff. And the more open and inviting it is, the more likely they're going to share that with you, because they know you want to hear it.
We have an open door policy here. Parents are welcome at any time. So with that, we invite parents to have lunch with us. We invite parents to be a part of our program in any fashion that they feel comfortable with. And so that takes, you have to get to know them.
I always tell parents at open house, you know, there's like so many opportunities for you to be a part of your child's life here at the center, but what I really encourage you to do are the ones that make you feel good. You know, that try not to do them out of a sense of obligation, because you have enough obligations. You're raising a family and you're providing for your family, and nobody needs additional stress or pressure. And so that's not why we plan these things. We plan them for your benefit, not as a responsibility to you.
We have an event that's just social, it's just fun. No pressure, no anything but let's relax and have a good time, or a picnic in a park, or a field trip where you invite as many parents to come as they can. All of this really helps to build community.
We have parent conferences. Parents are always welcome to come and volunteer, give us feedback. We have a parent web where you can look at our lesson plan or our theme for the month, and you can write down some ideas. So whatever you have that works with your family and you think it might work with your child and his classmates, we can do some kind of activity with that.
Well, we're fortunate to have a wonderful parent group right now. They participate. They come in and read stories. Once a week we have activities that they can participate in, either coming in doing a cooking project or reading a story, or maybe just coming in and playing a game in the morning. And we welcome parents anytime in the classroom to come in and incorporate, any kind of gifts. If they have a certain occupation that they like to share, they can come in and talk about that. We've had parents come in and do science projects and art projects and baking projects and anything they would like to do, anything they're interested in, and the child really feels special at that time to have their parent in their environment at school.
For some parents, it may be that they'll go on the trip with children, or they'll come in and have breakfast at the breakfast club, or they'll read a book to their child in their home language. You also have to provide different ways for them to get involved that are not, quote, the traditional. Sophia talked about, if it means you coming in and making pasta with with your children in your child's classroom, then do that. You don't have to speak English to do that. We can do lots of things without a home language. You could sing a song in your different language.
I often think about, what it means to be developmentally appropriate with children. I think it's so important to be appropriate with families the same way. The best way to support a family is to understand the best you can where they're at.